Okay. All right. Well, it's 5 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. All council members are present with the exception of Amanda Wheeler at this time. Moving on to agenda items. I'm looking for approval of the minutes from April 6. Is there any feedback from council members?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of April 6th.
All right, I have a motion by Council Member Harwood. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second by Michelle Goldsmith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
All
Aye.
right. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 4 is the appointment of the new Helper Police Chief. And I'd like to take a moment and explain the process which we executed, and then also to explain my selection. So with that said, when selecting a police chief in Helper's history, as far as we know, there was never an interview panel or any such action. It really was just the mayor selecting an appointee and then presenting them to the council for approval. I chose to alter that, and I created an interview panel, and the only person from the council sitting on that panel was Amanda Wheeler, because she serves as mayor pro tem. And in the event something happens to me, she may be working with that party. So I thought it was important that she be involved. The interview panel has no decision-making authority. They simply were providing guidance and feedback to me regarding the potential candidates for this position. They were given a list of questions provided by Chief Celia of Price City. So we had a very tight process. They didn't deviate from those questions. We asked them specifically not to, because we wanted to treat all candidates fairly. And they called down the 5 candidates to 4. And then I performed a second interview and spent anywhere from an hour and a half. Oh, let's let Amanda join. Okay, so may the record note that Amanda Wheeler has joined. Amanda, we're on item number 4.
I'm getting messages from community members that they are not able to see the meeting on YouTube.
We'll have Barry, any?
I mean, I don't know how that's helpful when they can't see that. I guess I have to try and grab the link. Not really. Well, it needs to be available to the public, and it's not. They're not able to find it.
Amanda, can you throw it on the Helper Facebook page? I don't know if Amanda heard that. Amanda? I see she's muted, but.
Okay, yes, I'm posting it now.
Okay, perfect. So Mallory, if you'd let folks know they can find that link on the Helper City Facebook page, that'd be awesome if they're texting you.
Yeah, and they were able to see it now. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so Amanda, where did you join? Should I go back?
Just while Mallory was talking about the link.
Okay. Well, then I'll be redundant, if y'all are okay with that. So I was talking about the process that we utilize to select the next Telfair police chief. And I was explaining that in the history of Helper, as far as we know, there's never been an interview panel convened. Typically, it was just a mayor appointment presented to the council to vote. And I elected to adopt a different process, similar to what Price City recently did when they were selecting their police chief. And I brought in, law enforcement folks, both present and past fire chiefs, educational resources, and then Amanda, because she is the pro temp mayor, and may have to work with this person in the event something happens to me. So that group was given questions, and those questions were provided by Police Chief Celia, again from Price City, and they were asked not to deviate or drill in with any particular candidate because we wanted to keep it very objective and neutral. Their job was to provide feedback and guidance to me. They're not a decision-making body. The appointment comes solely from the mayor. So that responsibility rests with me. I took their feedback and I culled down the 5 candidates to 4. And from that point, I performed second interviews with everyone. I spent probably an hour and a half to 2 hours with each of the 4 candidates. I actually tasked them with developing a scenario and a presentation. And then I went through additional questions provided by another police chief from Syracuse, because I'm not a law enforcement person. So I'm relying on the expertise of people who are in law enforcement. So after this process, and it was pretty grueling, I think, both for me, for the candidates, I selected Chris Gelati to be the new chief. And I'd like to take a few minutes and explain that to you all. So if you had asked me when Trent initially resigned, my initial reaction was, I think we may have to go outside to get the skills we need to keep the police department moving forward. That was my initial reaction. And I've discovered that wasn't the right reaction. In meeting with Chris, there were a few things that came to light. One is his loyalty to Helper City. He served for 15 years. He could have left at any time for more money. He elected not to because he believes in the community. So that's a notch of respect right there, that he continued to do the day-to-day work of a patrol officer and not, do his time and exit, which is what happens with our younger officers. Another thing of note is that a patrol officer approached me and said, 2 months ago, if you had said Chris was going to be the chief, I would probably not support that. And he said, after 2 months of working with him, I completely believe he should be the next chief. And that was very meaningful because now we're talking about people who are in the day-to-day with Chris. So Chris,
Sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of background noise. If everybody could mute their mics, I think it would help. Sorry again for the interruption.
okay, no worries. So that was meaningful to have a patrol officer approach me. And Chris stepped into the interim role. He did that without a pay raise. He did that to help us bridge a gap while we were pursuing another captain. Things ran smoothly. Shifts were covered. Reserve officers were brought in. And he had a variety of new ideas for the force. So all of those things matter to me. But what really set him apart was his passion for the community. That was so evident during our interview. His respect for the work that's been done to help improve Helper, his desire to be engaged and be an active part of that as a local leader. All of those things came through when I was interviewing him. And I think that's just, that role is so critical to the community that I think, that really resonated with me. And one thing that I actually would share is I was checking on some community members with the pandemic, and in doing so, I had a community member inform me that Officer Gelati had been bringing them meals from the Balance Rock, had been dropping off groceries to keep them safe. And the fact that Chris never presented that information to me tells me he was doing this for the right reason. He was doing it because he wanted to help take care of community members. And, there's no glory, there's no, pat on the back for doing those things. And that's the kind of community I want to have. People who help each other when they need help, and they do it because it's the right thing to do. So that was really, really powerful, hearing that from someone in the community. So, and again, I'm just sharing with you information I've collected during the process and the interview. And then the last thing I would share is all of the other candidates are not Helper residents. That is not a requirement. You don't have to live in Helper to be the police chief. But I don't know about you guys, but when I'm laying awake at 3 a.m. and worrying about fires and, things happening in our community, which I do, I worry a lot. The ability to get to a place quickly to support an officer who might be in duress, an officer might be on a call and something else crops up. And if you're a victim and you're waiting 30 minutes, it's probably a lifetime, So the fact that he is 5-10 minutes away, again, resonated strongly with me that he could get there, he could make the difference and reduce that time. Whereas the other candidates, that may be impactful. So that's to give you my perspective of why I've selected Chris. All of the candidates it was a hard choice. We had a bunch of great candidates to choose from, but I feel like Chris is the right fit for Helper. And with that said, I'd like to encourage council members, if you have questions, Chris is here and available to take those. So, feel free to do so.
So I have a couple of comments and questions. So I'd just like to know what training Chris has had, number one. And number two, I personally appreciate that when you're having a bad day, that somebody will be there in a timely manner. So, but yeah, so my comments are to Chris, what training have you had for this job?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There's thousands and thousands of various trainings that I've been through. To list them all would go on and on. But it
that's fine. You
varies
don't
from
need to.
domestic violence to drug interdiction. It's literally thousands of hours of various. I can provide you with certificates if you'd like.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But as far as
Yeah.
responding in a timely manner, that's like as the mayor said, it's great to be based here and live in Helper for the last 30 years. I can be somewhere at a moment's notice to either help our officers that are already on scene that need help, within literally minutes. And as the mayor said, 5 minutes is a lifetime to somebody in dire need. So 10 minutes is
Absolutely.
unheard of. So I hope that answers that.
Yes. Perfect.
Any other questions or?
I also, I don't know if you can hear. Am I mute?
You're cutting in a little bit. No.
Can you hear it now? I'm
Yep.
close to it. Sorry. Have you ever ran anyone that you shouldn't have ran that wasn't for a law enforcement purpose,
Can you be more specific?
like a coworker?
You know this. I ran it to find your birthday because we wanted to get you a birthday present, and I was talked to about that. Yes, dispatch notified me. It was only
Right.
to get you a birthday present, Miss Archuleta.
It was a good birthday present. I drank it. Was it submitted to the correct agencies as required by law by your chief?
Excuse me?
Was it submitted to the right agencies as required by law by your chief?
It was an alert from Price Dispatch, and they notified me,
Okay.
and they notified Trent as well.
Okay, I got a couple more. So has a has a judge from the Third Judicial District Court found your actions amounted to fraudulent non-disclosure?
Are you talking about my divorce? We're talking about a civil issue.
Yeah,
I don't want to discuss my divorce in a public forum. I'm sorry.
I understand that.
Okay. And nothing criminal. I've done nothing criminal in my career, Miss Archuleta, if that's what you're getting at.
I just want to interject. If we're going to start talking about somebody's professional or personal competence, we need to do it in a closed meeting. So I would recommend either making the motion to continue talking about it or move forward.
I'd make a motion for a closed meeting.
I second
Okay,
the
I have a-
motion for a closed meeting.
All right, I have a motion and a second. A motion by Councilmember Archuleta to close the meeting. I have a second by Councilmember Matsuda. All those in favor?
Aye.
I, if it worked.
Okay, so to make that happen, Barry, how do we remove people from the live meeting?